tried everything.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
gotta
there's
be that.
I think
Maybe
there's a problem with the soundboard on my laptop.
maybe we need to buy you a Zoom or something. We talked about that. Maybe we should get you a Zoom
What the
or
fuck's a
Zoom
Zoom?
pocket recorder.
Hey,
Just
if
one of those
this
little pocket recorders.
Kirby Paint and Tile Plus thing blows up, you can buy a new laptop.
Yeah, this is it.
Oh,
Yeah.
so by the way, you are listening to InGen podcast. No, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't even know what episode this is. I don't know what
We're
our
just over
intro
there.
is. Fuck.
All right, well that's the intro. Welcome to the InGeneral podcast, episode 84. My name's Jack. I'm joined with Chris and Caleb. Caleb, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. It's great to be here with you guys.
Yeah, welcome to the show. This is the first time you've joined us, but it's not the first time we've talked or met. We met you at the wedding.
Yeah, Josh and
Who?
Jennifer's wedding. That was a great time.
Wedding? Caleb? Who? What?
That was such a great time.
Oh my
There
God,
were
it was so
many
good.
people there. Yeah.
I can't
That was
believe
great.
that was over a year ago.
I know.
I know.
It's nuts.
It was over a year ago. It was, wasn't it? Yeah,
Yeah.
it was the start of July or mid-July.
hmm
Oh my God. Well, anyway, welcome to the InGeneral podcast. I got to get this in first. We've opened the Jurassic Outpost store, so head to jurassicoutpost.com/store to check out some really cool merch that we're adding day by day. James McQuaid has been designing some really awesome stuff there. We're also offering a discount code through zavvi.com or .co.uk. They're selling Festival Collection, the Primal Collection, lots of Jurassic Park and Jurassic World themed merch and shirts and various things like that. Use Outpost 20, you get 20% discount on anything you buy that's Jurassic themed. And if you just want to buy some stuff from Zavvi that isn't Jurassic themed, use Outpost 10, you get 10% discount anyway. Let's get into it. You'll probably notice there's a theme that's now playing under us. It's like an extension of that intro theme. That was Caleb's work. We finally got together and made something.
Yeah, it finally came together. It worked out great.
It's been a long time coming.
Yeah.
It's a really nice piece of music. I mean, I think that was the thing. We wanted something new, but that intro theme was composed by somebody I used to work on films with, Mitchell Gibbs. And I think it just captures that intro so well, but we wanted so much more of it, and we wanted to work with you. And now it's just got that, it just continues that perfect, like, Jurassic feel.
Yeah.
What I wanted to say,
It was a great theme, and so it was easy to extend, and yeah. So.
what I really like is when we started this podcast, we started our intro song with the Calypso theme from Jurassic Park from Islands of Adventure.
Yeah.
And what's fun about this new extension is some of the musical style of it, I feel like almost pays homage to that. So it almost feels like a natural, like, it's something new, yet it really feels like it has ties to that. And I think that's sort of a fun way of tying it together.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really does. Caleb, it's a really nice piece of work. I mean, we used some of your music in the Shelley Johnson interview. That was such a perfect intro. It was like a dark JP3 theme.
Yeah, thanks, man. Like, it worked so perfectly. I was so surprised, but like happy about how well it worked, and there were lots of comments about how well it worked. So it was great.
Yeah, for sure, man. Seriously. So what's your background, Caleb? You've always been composing music.
So I grew up in music, taking piano lessons, singing, that type of thing. Never really writing music until like after college, actually, was when I started taking lessons in composing music. I got a degree in music, but didn't study composing very much. And so after that is when I got into composing, and I started working for an advertising agency, and they asked me to write music for some of their commercials and radio ads, and I had never done that before, but in doing it, I realized that I loved it. So, yeah, I decided to get a master's degree in film scoring at NYU, which I just finished, and
Hey, congrats, man.
yeah, thanks. And yeah, my music and composition style is really very influenced by John Williams and Jurassic music, so that's why this worked well. So
Truly did, man. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty easy to notice the Jurassic influence there. at least in this. But is that something you've always wanted to do? You always wanted to compose like a Jurassic something, you know, piece of official Jurassic.
Oh, I
Like a
would.
dream.
I think like I would die if I was able to like work on a Jurassic film or anything related to it. Honestly, that would. I mean, my goal is to work in the film industry, make music, but like Jurassic is the most special thing to me. So like if I got to work on anything related to it in an official capacity, I would just like I could hang up the hat. It would be good. So
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think there's so many people that share that. You know, it's not just being a fan. It's everything. It's like it's something you've always wanted since you were a kid. I think it's yeah.
Well,
Oh
I
yeah.
think a lot of us share that.
what's cool is there's so many more opportunities now as well that keep budding up when you have things like Battle at Big Rock, Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous, or things like the motion comics, video games, and whatnot. The outlets to explore Jurassic in an official capacity have just absolutely expanded, and that's sort of exciting because then you can start to introduce not only new players but new styles and really like see everything grow in the process.
Oh yeah. Well, and for someone like me, I'm regardless of the reception of the newer Jurassic stuff, like I'm just so happy that it's continuing and so many things are happening because it still gives me more time to possibly get to work on something like that. So,
Yeah, absolutely. The opportunities really seem to be on an upward path, and hopefully they will just continue to be potentially endless.
yeah.
Chris, world building this franchise. It's gone global. How many more
Jurassic
movies
universe.
realistic do you think they could do? Yeah. Yeah, seriously.
How many
Like a
movies?
blue spin-off.
I think
Yeah.
that if things seem like they're going at a weird pace, like they're going too far forward too quickly, and they need to do something different in the franchise, I think that they'll probably look into either the era of when the park was open, like a prequel series of making Jurassic World, or something that maybe takes place before Jurassic Park, or sort of the in-between periods. Um, and I think that doing like one or two standoff films like that could probably give people enough time to accept whatever happens in the future. But yeah, I mean, as long as they don't start absolutely bombing or something, yeah, I think there's a lot of films that could potentially be in the future for Jurassic. And
I
personally, I
hope.
think there is a lot of opportunity.
Oh yeah. I hope that like something I've said is I hope that maybe instead of at a certain point, instead of going forward, I hope they go sideways. Like let's go talk about what was happening in a different part of the world during this story we've already seen. Like as open as Dominion is going to make the world of dinosaurs, like there are going to be so many stories that are happening at the same time. We're just focusing on one probably.
Yeah.
So
Oh, absolutely. And with the recent casting announcement of Lewis Dawson returning and Biosyn being in the film, uh, we haven't seen where that film goes, so I don't know if there is a story there. But I imagine from Dotson's time in 1993 to Dotson's time now, there's probably a story with Biosyn that could even be explored. Something that happens in parallel to some of the things that have already happened, like you said.
oh yeah.
Well, it'll be interesting to see where Camp Cretaceous goes with that as well, being that it's set at the same time as Jurassic World. Although it's a summer camp, right? I never. It's supposed to be a summer camp. Jurassic World set at
Right,
Christmas.
yeah.
It's I guess calling it a summer camp. It's probably an exaggeration because it's probably open
They
year
are
round.
demo guests. Aren't
Yeah,
they?
and it
They are
is
like
year round. So maybe they're like prototyping it and up for the upcoming summer. That's like in a few months, and this
Oh,
is
yeah.
yeah,
like,
maybe.
and then that summer camp would be opening alongside like the Indominus Rex and everything like that. Should things not have gone south, I think all the expansions are supposed to open that summer, if I recall correctly from the Mizrani Global site.
Oh, maybe. It certainly
Yeah.
was a lot of world building. But yeah, I think that's just one of the many stories. I mean, personally for me, going back to the years between, well, the years even before Jurassic Park, the years between Jurassic Park and Lost World, and then everything that happened after the Lost World, after San Diego, because that kind of woke people up to what was actually happening. There's stories there. There's stories of what, Hurricane Clarissa. There's things that I'd love to see about the original dinosaurs as well. And then everything after 2001. Like what happened after the best like movie in the franchise album in
No.
2001. You know what happened after that?
I have to know
Let's
now.
talk about that score.
I must know.
Let's talk about Don Davis.
Yes, John Davis.
So from your perspective, Caleb, like coming after two excellent John Williams scores, how do you think it held up?
Something I say a lot about the Jurassic Park 3 score is that it gave its best effort to like do what had been done before and didn't do that much new as far as musical material. I mean, as far as the released score goes, there's some other extra stuff on the expanded score, but as far as the released score goes, so much of that is like just John Williams material and it's credited to him. And it's like, okay, Don Davis did a few of these, but like the John Williams presence is very heavy, and which that's fine. But the reason I like, the scores after that by Giacchino for Jurassic World and Fallen Kingdom is that they don't do what Jurassic Park 3 did, and they bring in a bunch of new material. So yeah, and I guess the the last thing I would say is that there's value to both. There's value to, doing what John Williams did and, invoking nostalgia, and there's also value to not doing what John Williams did and bringing something new. So, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Understand.
Interestingly, yeah, I've never loved the Jurassic Park 3 soundtrack. I guess I find it largely forgettable, but that might also have a lot to do with the film. But yeah, I mean, the music's good. It's well done. Just like Jurassic Park 3, it had, someone talented working on it, or lots of talented people working on it, but it's about
Yeah.
it's about in line with the rest of the movie. It kind of feels rushed and undercooked, and not really living up to its potential.
Yeah, and I guess like a lot of that would come down to at the end of it, like what did he really have to work with when he was trying to compose those themes? And
True.
then obviously to fill in the shoes of John Williams coming after those two movies. It's the same for Joe Johnston, coming after trying to. I mean, Joe Johnston was an established, great filmmaker himself, but following Spielberg is like, I mean, that would scare anybody, right?
Oh yeah,
Right. Well, and yeah, I mean, I love Joe Johnston's films but it's like you said, it's just as hard for Don Davis following John Williams. It's just like following Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
And like Chris, you said the word undercooked, and like I think that is a good word. It sounds bad, but it's not necessarily. From a musical perspective on Jurassic Park 3, like the composer's different, but like two, in the film scoring world, there's something called an orchestrator, and that person was different too, which is why, it sounds like John Williams, but not quite. It's
feels flat to me for a lack. Like it lacks like a certain amount of popping texture. And for everything to kind of play against one another, everything sort of feels a little bit more unified, a little flatter, a little more sterile, I guess.
Sure. Just to explain what I just said, like the reason you like immediately recognize that a piece of music is by John Williams is because like it's orchestrated a certain way and it's done that way every time, and like Jurassic Park 3 sounds different because it is just not orchestrated the same way, and the instruments are a little bit different and things are written a little just slightly differently to where you can tell. But yeah, I'm music babbling, so I apologize.
No, that makes sense.
No,
Man.
absolutely.
I wouldn't have known that. So it's a lot about like technique as well, and like the kind of almost down to the instruments that it's chosen to be there.
Yeah, so like John Williams orchestrator on Jurassic Park and The Lost World, his name is Conrad Pope. And he's well known in the film music world. He's a conductor and an orchestrator who does a great job. And so obviously he wasn't present for the third film, and another orchestrator, I don't know who Don Davis's orchestrator was for that, but another orchestrator came in and sort of chose different harmonies, different ways to write for instruments, that still got that John Williams feel, but are still slightly different. And so,
Would it also be things like what instruments sort of are feel more powerful in the mixing, or if things feel like a little bit more unified? 'Cause
oh
maybe just
yeah,
like the way it's mixed in the audio level.
I would yeah, I would say mixing is a factor in that too, probably. There's a reason that the Jurassic Park and Lost World scores have gotten re-releases with remasters. The recording technology wasn't quite as good as it was maybe in 2001 or later. And so that's another reason probably why the score in 2001 sounds different than even 1997. So,
Hey,
I was
Chris.
gonna say that's really just all super fascinating to know, like some of the more technical specifications of how this all works. Like, there's so many elements at play.
oh, for sure. Um, you know, Being in the room when a film score is being recorded, believe it or not, I mean it's going to sound incredible there in the room with the orchestra, but when it's mixed and mastered and put in the film, it sounds I mean, very different and a lot better because it has reverb put on it. It has all kinds of EQ and all kinds of other things that are making every instrument sound perfect and exactly how the director and the composer and the producers want it to sound. And so, I mean, that's another thing about Jurassic Park 3. The Joe Johnston probably had a different idea in his mind, maybe, of how the music should sound than Steven Spielberg.
So there's a lot that goes into it, like what you're actually going to end up hearing, rather than just the themes that's been written. That is actually fascinating.
Definitely.
Knowing more about that process. Could you imagine being in the room when they were conducting, you know, Malcolm's Journey or something like that?
Oh my gosh. Oh,
That would have been epic.
man.
Man, let's talk about the Lost World score. Kayla, we talked about this a little bit at the wedding, but which one's your favorite of the two, if you have one?
Yeah, we did talk about it a little bit at the wedding. And I think, if Jurassic Park score is a 100, then the Lost World score is like a 99.9. I mean, and the only reason I lean towards Jurassic Park being my favorite by like 0.1% is because it's just really special to me and it's iconic. Anyone hears those themes, whether they've seen, I mean, even if they haven't seen the film almost, they might even know it then. Like, people know the music. It's just absolutely iconic. And then it's also hard because The Lost World is such a wildly different score than Jurassic Park. It's much more tribal and like much more jungle-esque and with different, South American instruments and different things like that. And so they're each their own animal. So
Yeah, I think personally, I think it would be really hard to compare the two. There's so many themes, but I think overall, it's got to be Malcolm's Journey. I think it's the favorite piece of music I have that's in this franchise. Every time I hear it, it's just so epic. It's so
and
big.
When you and I were talking at the wedding, I remember telling you that my favorite cue, like my favorite track from either of those soundtracks, is Visitor at San Diego.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, there is just, between the two scores, like, it's completely unique. It's just like organized musical chaos. You have the Jurassic Park theme, the main classic Jurassic Park theme in a minor tonality, which, I mean, I can go into the music explanation of what that means if we need to, but suffice to say, it's just such a unique piece of music, and it's just absolute chaos. So,
Truly.
Yeah, honestly, I think The Lost World has some of John Williams' probably some of his most underappreciated music out there. Like the people that listen to it love it. I don't really know people that do not like it, but just a lot of people don't know about it because it's sitting in this weird sequel territory in the grand scheme of things. But I think it has some of his best music out there. Just like this might be controversial, but I really love his Prisoner of Azkaban soundtrack.
Oh, definitely. Well, and there's another score by John Williams that people don't know, The Witches of Eastwick, which is also just whimsical and great. And so I think, Witches of Eastwick, The Lost World, and I mean, Prisoner of Azkaban is a little more well known, but like,
yeah, but
like
I think some of its
those
themes
three.
that are unique. I think that some of the Prisoner of Azkaban unique themes are better than like Hedwig's theme, in theory.
Oh yeah,
But you just don't know it as well because it's not the establishing theme that you first got introduced to Harry Potter, and it's not the theme of the series.
true.
But
And this is a Jurassic Park podcast, but I'll say Buckbeak's flight from Prisoner of Azkaban,
yep,
underrated cue. It's incredible. So
yeah, absolutely.
So I guess before we talk about like the Jurassic World theme and things like that, we could talk about like the video game music that was in between, because that kind of gave us a taste of what I'm going to say it wrong now. We were talking about this
Giacchino.
Giacchino.
Oh, Jack.
But his early work with the Jurassic franchise is, I mean, the Lost World PlayStation score, the PSX game.
Oh, it's
I love that
fantastic. It's so good.
I mean, that game is great, but the score, the music, it's brilliant.
Totally.
Yeah. So he did that and Warpath, right?
Yeah, I was gonna, he didn't do Trespasser, right? No, he did Warpath.
No. Well, yeah, Warpath and the PlayStation game that was just called The Lost World.
Oh yeah.
The side scroller.
What's funny is I never played those. I mean, I have played them. Obviously, Jack, you and I played the Lost World game.
We played that in
London.
London.
Yeah. It's just
And did Hot Sauce Challenge or something.
yeah, that whole situation. Like we're just playing a Lost World in London at your friend's place, and someone that I met was there. The whole thing was weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that was like my introduction to the game, and this I had visited the score after Giacchino. Obviously I was very familiar with Giacchino's work, but I wasn't familiar with the Lost World score. So when people were raving about it, I went and checked it out online, and I thought it was okay.
Oh, Chris, that's how Michael Giacchino met Steven Spielberg. That was the first time they connected, was for that video game.
Really?
Yeah. And like,
Wow, I didn't know that.
oh, what I was gonna say is that score is still available on CD form on Amazon. So go get it.
It really is. I must
Really?
have that somewhere. I swear I would have bought that.
Yeah, I have it. It's on my shelf here. So
I did not know. I did not know it ever had like official releases. No, I should pick one up. To be clear, like I didn't think it was bad. I'm very familiar with a lot of Giacchino's work, so I was really excited to hear it because I love so much of his work. So when I listened to him, I'm like, oh yeah, it's video game music. It's not necessarily like what I imagined Giacchino doing video game music would have been, but it was still good.
It's quite early for him though. I mean, like,
Yeah, it is.
You got to think after Lost World and Warpath, he then did the entire score of
Lost.
which was just incredible.
and
a hell of a lot in between. That
and Lost
Jurassic
is
World.
so different than the Lost World of Warpath. It's completely different. So
It's so different. I mean, it's proper cinematic and just big and creepy. And Lost is one of those shows that without the music, it really wouldn't have been so impactful. The music was such an important part.
I
And it
want
has a ton-
J.J. Abrams and Michael Giacchino to work together on a Jurassic project.
Don't. That used to be a
Oh,
dream.
that would be
man.
great.
J.J. Abrams on a Jurassic. He was. But what happened with that, right? So there was always M. Night Shyamalan was going to be the Spielberg of the future, right? Then that didn't happen. And then everybody said J.J. Abrams. Do you remember when J.J. Abrams was getting big and Cloverfield was happening and things like that? And everyone was like, it's the next Spielberg. That didn't happen.
Well, to be fair, I think he tie himself onto Star Trek, and that just didn't blow up. Um, and then he did like Super 8, which was good, but it didn't really blow up. It wasn't like astounding, but it was good. I think that it was just sort of some of his projects. I'll be very curious to see like what he's going to end up doing now that he's done with Star Trek, done with Star Wars. Like what will happen?
Yeah. Yeah.
Super 8, another example of
Giacchino.
great Giacchino. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. One of the,
Super 8 has a really nice score, actually.
Yeah.
It's a good movie. I gotta revisit that.
yeah, I haven't seen it in a while. I'm curious. I did enjoy it. I didn't think it was like the best movie ever, but I really liked it. I'm curious like how it holds up. What I would think if I saw it now, because
You know, that was one of the movies that had such a great viral campaign that it made that it just was. It's J.J. Abrams, right? It's the secret box, the mystery box. Mm-hmm. It just played with that so well.
yeah, he really does play with that concept really well, and he oftentimes incorporates that into marketing. And he makes the marketing a story of itself, so it's more of like a game, a market, what are they, ARGs,
Yeah.
augmented reality games.
I think they definitely had that for. So did Giacchino? This is total tangent, but did Giacchino do? Oh, fuck's sake, Giacchino. Did he do? Did he do? He did War for the Planet of the Apes, but did he do that earlier?
He didn't do Rise of the Planet of the Apes, but he did Dawn and War.
That's right. Dawn is the best one.
Those scores are excellent. They are so
Those
good.
movies are excellent.
Yes, and those films
they
are absolutely great. Yeah.
Yeah, they are. They are a quality that I would love sci-fi blockbusters to aspire to. Like,
Well, hang on. This is what bothers me, and I know that I know what you're gonna say, Chris, but the writers of those 3 movies wrote the first script for Jurassic.
I know.
Yeah, Rick Jeff and
And
Amanda Silver.
Jurassic World could have been Rise of the Planet of the Apes level quality. Who knows? It could have been.
It probably, they're really, really good writers. I think when they were on board, though, it was before some of the, before Colin came in and said, like, let's not have, like, militarized raptors really be a thing of, like, reality. So, like, the problem is they're really good at writing set pieces. They're really good at writing, sci-fi and fiction and characters, but the story within it would have probably been 10 times more absurd, and just I don't think it would have worked. But I do think that they could write on Jurassic. I do think that they could write on Jurassic just fine if they weren't
like at this point,
if they weren't
I just
pigeonholed to like
wanna
that type
read
of
the
story.
script. I just want to know what their version of Jurassic Park 4 would have been, even if it was influenced heavily by all those crazy ideas. Like, basically, it would have been John Sayles version 2, but...
yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it was, but it did have the open park. It did have what eventually became the Indominus Rex. It had, like, a lot of the same things, but it was just...
From what we know about it, it sounded like it was more in line with Jurassic than maybe the script that we got.
No. So, like, the plot, no, not at all. Maybe
No, not
the
plot,
tone.
but just the way they handle it. Like, the way they'd handle the hybrid kind of dinosaur thing was supposed to be a new species, right? That'd been dug up, and it was all about
I don't like
espionage and somebody stealing stuff from the original park. Although it was kind of going down the Nedry route again, wasn't it?
Was it?
Like corporate sabotage. Yeah, I swear it was something to do with that. Like, somebody wanted the specimen of that new...
Oh, yeah, is that
Yeah,
how
I've
it
heard
broke
that.
out or something? Like, someone
I've
was
heard
screwing around, and then, that was the Malosaurus, which then became the Diabolus Rex, and then the Indominus Rex.
True.
Diabolus Rex changed,
continuing
I think, because there was, like, a
down-
Satanist.
Continuing down that tangent, like Matt Reeves, someone I would love to direct a Jurassic project. Like,
Yes.
100%. Yeah.
He's on the Batman, right?
yes.
Yeah, I'll be very curious to see what he does with Batman.
I found I found Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. That was Matt Reeves, right?
Yes.
I found that one was my favorite of the 3, but it feels so The Lost World because it's obviously a continuation of the first Rise, but it's got its own complete field. But it's redwoods, it's this mystery, it's
True.
like jungle, dark. It just feels so Lost World to me. Everything that happens in it, it's like goes down the same kind of vibe.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Is Matt Reeves does dark so well. My gosh, and I think if I'm someone who really enjoys both Jurassic World and Fallen Kingdom, but if there's anything that's missing from them that I wish there was more of, it's the just brutal darkness of Jurassic Park and the Lost World that's not as present in the newer films. And Matt
Right,
Reeves could
thank
do
you.
that.
It's not even about like going down a horror route. It's just look at the other. Like, I know the Wolf of the Planet of the Apes is a 12A, right? But like, why can't Jurassic be there?
And I just
Was
need
there. It was totally there. If Jurassic Park was released today, it would be a 12A, 100%.
See, it would still be PG-13 in the States, so I don't really know.
If it was Spielberg, yeah.
I mean, I don't.
Oh, okay, yeah. Sorry, I'm looking on IMDb. So we have PG and then we have 12A, which is like, you can be 12. I think it means if you can be 12 or under if you're with an adult.
Oh, okay.
And then you've got 12, which is 12 up or something like that. But
So was
that's
Jurassic
ridiculous.
Park? What was Jurassic Park rated in?
It was a PG. I'm saying if it wasn't Spielberg, it would never have been a PG. It wouldn't be a PG now.
Oh yeah, no, it would definitely be a higher Jurassic Park. That's crazy that it got PG. It's PG-13 here.
They've retroactively. I mean, was it PG-13
Wait, what's
in
PG-13?
'93, or did they retroactively do that?
No, I think it's always been PG-13. But
Okay.
What's War for the Planet of the Apes?
I think, but I could be wrong there. I mean, it's before my time, so.
War for the Planet of the Apes was PG-13 here.
There you go, man. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, right, as well. Same
Also,
thing. What
I
the
mean,
hell?
also PG-13. And what I mean,
Yeah, look how dark that movie is.
right? What I mean by everything I just said is that I just like. It sounds weird, but like the brutality is something that I enjoy. So
It's missing, dude. These are dinosaurs.
But we're-
for God's
it's
sake.
You know what's
it's
in-
there. It's there. It just feels different, and it's not in the same focus as it is in Jurassic Park and the Lost World.
Well,
It doesn't feel like a threat.
Jurassic Park and The Lost World are both movies with, people bring this up. Hey, they are filled with jokes, and yeah, it's true. But it's about the tonality of it all, and the movies take themselves seriously, and they try to behave by the real world, and they
Yeah, the
and they
characters are
avoid
being-
too
being
many
funny.
gags, and for the most part, they try not to break up tense scenes with too many jokes too often. It definitely happens. I'm not saying it doesn't happen in the films. I mean, look in The Lost
Right.
World when they try to order cheeseburgers or whatnot when they're hanging off the trailer. Like it's absolutely present, but it's just all about like sort of the execution and those
That's kind
movies.
of human, isn't it? Yeah.
No,
And that kind of
breaking
yeah.
levity.
It's good writing, is what it is.
Breaking
It's good
levity
character.
in those situations is a natural thing for some people to do. It's all about what character leads it, how it plays out, things along those lines. It's complex, and everyone's going to have their own takeaway because it's also subjective. But that said, I think objectively, Jurassic Park and The Lost World took themselves a little more seriously. It just felt a little darker. But you know what? Jurassic Park's a fun movie, is the thing. Is it manages to both feel serious and tense, but also adventurous.
It's a summer adventure, yeah.
100%.
Yeah, and I think that Jurassic Park is just magnificent for that because it's able to pull off all these things, but take itself seriously the entire time. It's hard to say, oh, this is a funny scene in Jurassic Park, rather than it's a very human scene that you're able to derive like humor from, but not necessarily humor being like the point. I
Right.
guess.
Yeah.
And that speaks to the fact that like these films are a product of the culture that they were made in. Like 90s cinema culture is so 180 different from what it is now as far as how people write things, how people direct things, everything like that. And like I don't know, that's something when people say that World and Fallen Kingdom are different, it's like, yeah, they are. It's because they were made in 2015 and 2018, not 1992.
Yeah, but part of it is the studio is a lot more involved now. Like that's not
Oh, yeah,
subjective.
totally.
That's not speculation. The studio is more involved now. They did not
Yeah.
expect Jurassic World to be the breakout hit that they thought it was going to be. In fact, in the leading up to production, the budget kept getting slashed before they finally got a little bit of a boost up to 150. But yeah, no, it was a risk. The studio saw it as a risk, so they wanted to play it safe. They wanted to appeal to a younger audience, and they wanted to appeal to more of the kind of summer blockbuster crowd. Not necessarily letting it be a Jurassic Park movie, but kind of play it closer to a formula. And it was basically Colin's job to come in and navigate these big studio demands, resurrect this franchise, and also try to keep it true enough to Jurassic Park. I think that continuity-wise, it feels true enough to Jurassic Park. I mean, Jurassic Park 3 already sort of jumped the shark tonality-wise, but I'm not... That said, I wish it would have played it closer to Jurassic Park, and I think it could have. We saw people lined up to see this movie, and it would have blown up. And I think that the trajectory for the sequels is if they would have just let it be a little more like Jurassic Park, is we would have seen more confidence of letting the sequels be a little bit more serious as well. And it's not that Fallen Kingdom isn't serious. It's kind of, it's quite grim, but in like a comic book way, I guess. It's very...
It's certainly shot nicely, and it's shot more in line with Lost World.
It just doesn't feel more... It doesn't feel realistic, I guess. It's like very grim and dark, but it feels... Yeah, I don't know.
That's something that, like, that's a reason I love Fallen Kingdom, which is an unpopular opinion, but, like, when I saw Wheatley's death in the theater for the first time, I was like, fuck yeah, dude getting his arm ripped off. Like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And apologies if can't swear on this podcast.
You can swear all you want, man.
I mean, we do have kids that listen, so we do try to remember not to, but we also don't ban it. Maybe we should revisit that rule. I don't know. But for right now, fuck yeah.
We'll take a look. But fuck it for now.
Anyway, I mean, that was... Wheatley's death was like the shocking, violence that I love about this franchise. And I would not complain about having more very grim things like that. So.
Oh, absolutely. No, that scene I love. That scene felt very Jurassic Park. It was quite shocking, but in a good way. And they showed just the right amount. You just saw just enough, like seeing the arm actually, like him pop down and then it swallow the arm is really cool. And I've told this story 1,000 times, but when I saw Fallen Kingdom, it wasn't the first time. It was here in Pittsburgh at the like the OmniMax at the Science Center, the theater there, or the IMAX. There was a little girl that screamed when his arm got bitten off, and I don't mean screamed like a tiny shock. I'm talking like a blood-curdling, 4-second long scream. Like that scene. Scene just absolutely horrified her.
That means they're doing something right. They got the little girl to
But
scream.
she didn't cry. She didn't cry. She didn't leave the theater. She didn't avert her eyes from the screen. She was there for the entire... Yeah, she was there for the entire time, closed out the movie or anything like that. And I'm like, man, she's going to remember that scene the rest of her life, and probably in a good way. And also for all the other kids in that theater, remembering that it was so scary that someone screamed. Oh, yeah, no, you know that that's the right thing, because when you're a kid, that kind of scares you, but it just invokes your imagination. More often than not, you're not going to have... Probably won't have nightmares from it. I feel like dinosaurs don't give nightmares as much as, like, ghostly...
Well,
as a kid, imagery.
As a kid watching movies like that, like, I mean, just from personal experience, like, kids don't know that that's not real. So, like, they're even more scared of it. Like, when I was a kid watching the raptors in the kitchen, that used to terrify me. Like, legit. I mean, and I've seen it 1,000 times now, and so it's not as much, but, like, yeah. So there's a line to tiptoe there, just as far as like old films versus sequels goes. It's like you bring the kids in and you don't, show people's heads getting blown off, but like you also have like
exactly what you don't want to
violence.
do. You don't want to have bodily horror or something that's very real. It doesn't matter what happened to the person. You don't want to see something that is so real world that it's just ingrained in someone's mind as something horrifying. What's nice about Wheatley's death is his arm popped off, but there wasn't like blood and guts, blood spilling everywhere with it. It was just the right amount where it worked. It's believable, yet it's also not going to ingrain some horrific imagery that could, reflect real world trauma and
someone.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean,
and I think that's a good line to tread, but I do think these movies should, do that more often.
It's an overall tone and feeling, I think. But we're getting off track a little bit from the scores themselves. There was, am I right in thinking there was a Lost World motif in the Jurassic World score somewhere towards the end?
Yes. Mm-hmm. So when Blue charges on Main Street,
in slow-mo.
Makes no sense.
You hear the ba 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 ba. It's a variation on the Lost World theme. And I chalk that up to the fact that Giacchino did the Lost World video game and he wanted to throw that in there with the raptor, but like you know, it doesn't. As far as like musical associations go, it doesn't make that much sense, but I still think it's really cool. So
It would have probably worked better if he would have done it when the T-Rex came out, like that boom, boom, and then like maybe when she busts through the Rex skeleton, maybe they could have. I mean, the Spinoskeleton, they maybe could have played with that there. I feel like that would have felt a little more natural, at least. Callbacks
true.
to Sorna, callbacks to Rex. Just
I like,
scene blue.
Especially because
I like what.
Paddock 9 as
Oh
well
yeah,
was kind of sauna, wasn't it? It was
Yeah.
redwoods in there.
True.
They made it out like it was that.
I like what Giacchino did, like for that moment. But like,
Mm-hmm.
if they would have done like some sort of Lost World theme or some Jurassic Park theme over that moment, it just would have had the more just. I mean, my emotion in that scene was excitement. The first time I saw it, it was like, holy cow, this is happening. And so it's like a Jurassic Park theme or a Lost World theme there may have given it more of that like Jurassic adventure feel, which would have been really fun. But what Giacchino did gave it like this epic Jurassic World thing, which I think also works, and I enjoy it. But yeah, there's an argument for both. So
Yeah, I mean, instrumentally, it really blends with everything else we're hearing.
true.
And I feel like that theme lends itself to those instruments, obviously. So that sort of makes sense at that point. It's just when you kind of think of like what that theme represents, you know, within the fiction and just sort of stylistically, I'm not sure it actually fits in that moment if you really want to chop down what that theme represented in the past. But I mean, hey, it's what he used it for, and it does work.
Well,
It
and
does.
this
It does
gets-
feel like a little bit like a tease though when it goes bum bum and it doesn't like really pay off. That always like that left me hanging, wanting like I'm like, but when's it gonna finish?
True. So what you're referring to, Chris, I think is when Rexy comes out of Paddock 9 and there's like a little musical variation on the Jurassic Park theme.
I-
Yeah.
Ye-
It's like bum 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 ba da da. It's like a weird thing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's yeah.
And they do the same thing with the Lost World theme, where it's like it's like it kind of tapers off at the end. It doesn't really
It's-
like
Starts building to
Yeah.
it. And then,
It's it like is a variation on it, and like it's a weird musical thing. I think it it has the danger of throwing people off. But just like knowing Giacchino's philosophy there, which was like what he was trying to do was like pay homage to these old things, but like not be direct about it. And so, like, I appreciate that aspect, but like, I also get that it does throw people off. So
it throws me off musically, and he did the same thing with Star Wars Rogue One. Right when you think the title card's gonna come on, and it's
know
about to
exactly
sound
what you
Star
mean.
Wars, and then it just sounds like knockoff Star Wars, and it doesn't seem like it seems like it's a knockoff Star Wars theme for like a podcast that couldn't like license the real music, so they used it. It doesn't seem right. Like that. That's the only moment I can think of in the Rogue One soundtrack that doesn't seem right. But he gets so close to that title card, Star Wars music, the main theme, and then just completely goes, and just sort of sounds like just an orchestra deflating. I'm like, he did the same trick there in the in Jurassic World, and I didn't like it in any of those instances.
I personally, I love it, but like, I do understand like the effect it has on people, because when you've watched these Star Wars for 40 years or Jurassic for 30, and then you hear this music you already know, but it's just like off or it's slightly different. It's like, what?
I think that's kind of what I struggled with the Jurassic World score itself. I was so pumped for it. I'd just been a huge fan of Giacchino since Lost, and then hearing his earlier work, and then the new Jurassic World. Finally, we're getting Jurassic Park 4, and the score was just, I don't know, it just didn't hit me. It just wasn't impactful.
So-
I felt like it
to me.
lacked
just didn't
percussion.
Feel anything from it? Yeah, it lacked any real. I didn't even know how to describe it. It just didn't seem impactful enough.
I do.
And then it was like what you just described, how it seems like it's a homage, sure, but it feels like almost like a knockoff, or like something that isn't official. I kind of got that vibe from the Jurassic World score. It just didn't seem, every time it used the Jurassic Park theme, it seemed off.
Well, I liked it. I liked Giacchino's own theme. I think it's As the Jurassic World Turns. Is that what the initial introduction to his like themes that also play like the Gyrosphere Valley and whatnot?
Yeah, As the Jurassic World Turns introduces a lot of themes. It
Yeah,
introduces Claire's theme and the Jurassic World theme and some other things. Yeah.
I love that little, dun 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 dun
Oh
dun,
yeah.
and like how Battle at Big Rock plays that in a really cute way, where you see the little baby Nasutoceratops.
Yes, that's perfect. It was
That
amazing.
that theme I love, and I'd like to hear more of it because I feel like, believe it or not, like Giacchino himself hasn't really like allowed that theme to breathe to its fullest potential. Um, but yeah, I really like that theme. Some of the other music I think is good. Sometimes I think there's too much music. It doesn't stop. It's always kind of playful. Also, it lacks sort of a sense of seriousness, and it just never is not playing.
I get you. I mean, personally, I love both of the scores, but like, it's important to say that like, Giacchino's his own thing and John Williams is his own thing, and they're so different. And I think a reason I like the newer scores is just because they, as a principle, chose to break new ground and do something different. But what I was gonna say though, as far as like themes being where they are in certain moments and the way they sound and things like that, something just like to consider is like after Giacchino writes this, maybe he has these scenes before in the editing process, post production, all that, and he's scoring to them. So what he writes for these scenes is probably close-ish to what you hear in the film. He writes these things, they
Hmm.
get recorded by an orchestra, they get mixed, and then, post-production, they start getting put in the film, and, there's another role, I talked about the orchestrator, another role in the film music world is the music editor. And so, these things that Giacchino writes and they get recorded, and then most of the time they get cut up and rearranged and are way different than what was written, and that's the music editor who does that so that
Hmm.
it works, at least initially in the director and the composer's eyes, it works perfectly with what they wanted and what they envisioned with the film. So
Hmm.
like the cues, the musical cues on Main Street there at the end and other places in the film, like they sound like they do in the film on the soundtrack, but I guarantee you they didn't sound exactly like that or in that order when Giacchino wrote them. And so,
Well, the entire scoring sessions I think is pretty well known. Like the entire scoring sessions have leaked for Jurassic World, and I believe Fallen Kingdom as well. And I'm sure you have that, right? I mean, I do.
yeah, I've seen them. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, those. It's weird how they're just so. I don't know why they're always out there, but yeah, no. There's some real. It's really interesting to hear some of the alternative arrangements from the scoring sessions themselves, rather than the final
oh yeah.
mix,
Yeah.
and seeing how it was played around with. But I love the textural rawness of them.
Giacchino, like, his Lost score is just so memorable
Hmm.
and so epic, and it feels like a cinematic movie score. It's his best work, in my opinion. And I don't know. I
Well,
just feel like it was Jurassic World was just half baked. Like it just wasn't a Giacchino score. It was like him just mimicking something. I don't know. It just didn't. It didn't hit it like his other scores do.
I
It didn't feel like
I understand what you mean.
something that he put a lot of time into.
Yeah.
I won't lie. I've found Giacchino's writing a little more derivative and a little less interesting as time's gone on. Um, I think that
Well, I swear we used to talk about this,
yeah,
Chris. How he seems to
like
have like three main movies a year,
he seems
and
to
it's
write a lot of work. But my problem is
I was gonna
sometimes it
say
seems
he's
like
a
the
busy
way.
guy.
Yeah, so,
yeah. Maybe that's part of the issue. Like
I
that I have at
feel
least with
a
it.
lot of his
Just
themes feel like they're written with a too much simplicity always, where it's like they're almost always written as tiny little motifs on like a piano or something. Like in that he doesn't necessarily write the themes with the instruments in mind. That's just sort of discovered later on in the process, and because of that, you don't have as much wide range of texture and maybe conflict like music that plays against one another in different ways, and it just sort of lacks that back and forth punch that you can get with like if you write, and I'm sure he does write with a full orchestra in mind, but a lot of his main themes just sort of feel like they evolved from like a little piano tinkering, and I know that's pretty common, but it almost feels like it's a solid root that kind of plays through the complexity or the lack of within the music.
Yeah, and like that also speaks to, the we were talking about how the films are different because a few were made in the 90s and a few are now being made in the second decade of the 21st century. And so, like, film scoring, then the culture and the ideas and the philosophy is so starkly different from what it is now. And like you said, Chris, the philosophy of film scoring is significantly simpler than it was in the 1990s, and before the 90s. But yeah, I mean, because nothing against Hans Zimmer, but like his scores have gotten progressively simpler and less orchestral than they used to be, and that's just because that's what a lot of filmmakers want. That's what a lot of studios want, and so like. I don't know if that speaks to the way Giacchino writes. What you were saying is true. Like I agree. His themes are simple and
and it works a lot of the times. But sometimes it feels like it's too much across the board. And like I said, sometimes it's like a little too playful. Like I don't quite love like on a soundtrack. It's fine, but I don't quite love like the Pteranodon attack sequence in Jurassic World. It's very playful. It's got a Jaws-like theme and playfulness to it, but it just feels so playful. And that's sort of my general, like, a lot of the Jurassic World music just is constantly sort of this weird, playful. It's not too silly. It's not too gentle. It's kind of hectic.
It's not bad either. Like, I could still listen to it and enjoy it, but I just can't listen to a Jurassic World album the same way I could, say, for example, the most recent re-release of Jurassic Park and the Lost World, the extended score.
Oh.
Was it La La Land that did that?
Yeah. La La Land.
Like 4 CD thing. That was dope, but like I had that in my car, man. I used to drive home from work and like blast, through the themes, and I could just sit back and listen to those themes all day. I couldn't do that for Jurassic World. It just doesn't have.
I could do that with a few themes. I could do that with as the Jurassic World turns, like those little like the Gyrosphere Valley theme, and I think the Park is Closed is one of the ones, like, and like a lot of the ones that play with those themes I can do that with, but the larger portions of the soundtrack I can't. But to be fair, I think it's all great music, but I don't always just like throw on the Jurassic Park soundtrack and just listen to it all the way through. Like, there's very few themes that I can really enjoy listening to on their own, even on Williams stuff.
Just do Malcolm's
Journey. But Malcolm's Journey is definitely one of them.
I'm not gonna lie. I'll be the Giacchino defender in a way. I understand what y'all mean. I just really love these scores. They're special to me just as a composer. But
I think they're really good.
I lost my train of thought, but what were you going to say, Chris?
I mean, I absolutely think they're very good. I think it's just sometimes the way they're incorporated into the movie is they're just a bit much.
Sure.
Sometimes they didn't hold back as much. Sometimes there would be scenes I think that would work better if there just wasn't music. And I feel like just it doesn't know when to hold back. It's constantly playful, and sometimes Jurassic World's a little, like, little shinier, a little bigger, and the music's constantly like a little louder, a little more playful, but like a little more simple. And I don't think they complement each other, or they do complement one another, but they just really lean into that playfulness. So with both of them on top of one another, it's like takes it almost too far. Whereas a more serious music or less of that whimsical nature could have maybe benefited just taking certain scenes more seriously, like Zara's death.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, if you lose me, a thunderstorm just started rolling in out of nowhere. So that's what happens.
It's massively storming here in New York as well. So.
Okay.
I'm jealous, guys. I'm looking out to just clear.
It's a time to watch The Lost World right now.
It is.
Yeah, seriously, any storm, I'm like, shit, I gotta get home, man. Lost World waiting. She's waiting for me. But that's the thing. I know what you were gonna say, Caleb. You were gonna defend Giacchino. But he doesn't need defending. Like,
true.
Seriously, like an epic.
He's an amazing composer.
That word today. He's an incredible composer.
True.
He really is. Like, I have so much love for him, and every score he's done outside of Jurassic, I have so much love for. I don't know what it is. I just feel like almost like he rushed him, and that's the only issue with it. And maybe he just didn't see the potential of Jurassic World when he was writing Jurassic World. Maybe he was like, I
don't know. I think his Jurassic World soundtrack sounds like a Giacchino soundtrack. but maybe the thing is he's competing against Williams and competing against Jurassic Park, and I think for us that maybe that's the issue.
Maybe that's the
That's
thing,
the
yeah.
issue. It's a very Giacchino soundtrack. It really is. I don't know if I would consider it constantly to be one of his bests, but I do like his As the Jurassic World Turns. Um,
Yeah,
but it's very Giacchino.
It just doesn't handle certain moments very well, as we've discussed before.
So-
but like again, to come back to Lost, right? 6 years of TV, 6 seasons.
But that was its own
of
thing.
music.
He got to build that himself. With Jurassic,
Of course, but,
unfortunately,
like,
he has to
but
pick up the mantle, and that's always tougher. It's always harder to find
Yeah.
your own identity in that. And for the fans that have been there along the ride, they're always going to notice it as something different.
So if y'all remember
Yeah, but
back like right before Jurassic World was released, Giacchino went on a radio show and got to play a couple of like preview cues from Jurassic World. And he didn't say what they were, but he played As the Jurassic World Turns, and which was fantastic. But he also played 9 to Survival Job, which is like the finale outro of Jurassic World when Owen is like, better stick together. But anyway, I love when that happened. I loved As the Jurassic World Turns, but I really did not like 9 to Survival Job. And I don't even remember why. It just didn't work for me. And so, but when that cue hits in the film, it works so well. Like, it's completely different in the film than it was listening to it by itself, because you see Isla Nublar and Rexy roars over the whole thing at the end, and that's that cue. And without that, it's just not as epic, to use Jack's word. So
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what, I've not said that word in years. I can't imagine. Guys, we can obviously come back to this, but I am looking at a tweet right now from Sam Neill, that, Dr. Alan Grant himself, 2 days ago saying, "Hold on to your hats, getting my old one back on this week and facing off dinosaurs once again." He was announcing that he's beginning filming again, right? So he's in London now with Laura Dern, Bryce Dallas Howard, Chris Pratt, Jeff Goldblum, the whole gang.
yes,
And it's pretty goddamn exciting. And today, he actually released a picture. He posted a photo of his hat. First piece of costume, right?
it's a beautiful
That
thing.
we've seen from Dominion.
Yeah, that is the first piece of costume that we've seen. Well,
Except from all the leaks. That
well,
we've been
no, I
seeing.
mean, because Chris Pratt has posted Instagram stories in costume.
True. But no one cares about Chris Pratt. It's all about Sam Neill today. This hat is... I don't know what it is. Like, people complaining about... it's just a hat, don't get excited. I can understand why people got excited by this. This is cool.
Oh, yeah.
This is like a true like throwback to something so minor, but it made up. We realize it makes up such a huge.
Well,
part of that
it's
character,
his
right?
exactly.
It's his hat.
It's
Yeah.
his character. I'll say what I said a little while ago again. As someone who wears hats like that frequently, you have 3 or 4 or 5 of them that you rotate, and you lose one, or it gets damaged, or it gets wet. So like it's probably not the same hat, but it's the Grant hat in the
To
spirit
be clear,
of his character.
we're talking about his Jurassic Park 3 hat. It's the JP3 style Grant hat, but it seems to be different. And as you said, logically, it would
Yes.
probably be different. But it even seems to be. It looks like the band around it is thinner, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So if you compare it to an image of the actual hat. Actually, no. If you look at Sam Neill's original tweet, he posts a close-up picture of him. You can't see the entire hat, but you can see the band that goes around it and the base of the hat. It is a different hat and it's a different band, but it's the hat he posted is more in line with Jurassic Park 3's hat than his original.
Yeah, his original was
Yeah.
like a straw-colored woven hat. Quite different, actually. I mean, they have the same silhouette, but otherwise the materials and the colors are very different. So I'm surprised.
Yeah,
I'm surprised. It's kind of neat and curious that it's a JP3 style hat.
Yeah, it's interesting. His hat in Jurassic Park is a material that works really well in the rain, and he's in the rain a ton in that movie. But
He knew.
in Jurassic Park 3 and this hat, I mean, they're a different material that doesn't do as well when it gets wet, and so it's interesting. But anyway,
That's great because he wasn't supposed to land, so he was just wearing a hat for the plane.
yeah,
Just
it was a plane hat. It wasn't an island hat. So
exactly.
But yeah, and he tweeted it with the caption "Hello, old friend," and he tagged everybody. Man, there's something weird about this. It's so cool. I think it's something people have been waiting for a very long time. You know, to have Sam Neill return, but to see this legitimate, like, this is real. This kind of post, you know. I don't know. It's just
Well,
weird.
he's
It's
probably the one character with iconography in terms of his costume that you could so easily invoke the character in the right context with.
true.
I mean, because it's been in every time we've seen him, he's had something like this on. So for the most part, whereas like Ellie Sattler, she had a very 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 unique outfit and memorable outfit in Jurassic Park, but none of that was carried which makes sense. But none of that was carried through into Jurassic Park 3. And Malcolm
No, that's a
Malcolm
really
wears
interesting
black,
point, though.
but it's harder.
Yeah.
It's harder to encapsulate that with a single article of clothing. Like it doesn't have a silhouette, but Grant's hat has a silhouette. And
it's got nothing on the hat.
Yeah.
It's all about the hat with him. Especially, they make a point of the hat at the end of Jurassic Park 3. Billy saves the hat.
Saved your hat.
Kind of thing. Got your hat. But yeah, no, this was really cool. I don't really know what else much to say about it. I just like looking at this. The fact that it's 2020 and Sam Neill himself has tweeted this picture.
It makes
It's something that I think for that 14-year gap where we were waiting for Jurassic Park 4, this is just one of those many things that like you wish could have happened in that time.
True.
All these characters saying they're returning, and
It makes me
there it
happy
is.
because like Sam Neill is excited
Hyping it up.
himself and is taking the time to post about it, which is a good sign. It's a really good sign in my mind. So
yeah.
Yeah, Sam Neill has a dry sense of humor, and in the past
True.
he's kind of talked about the Jurassic World films in his dry sense of humor way, where he's like, not coming back, probably dead, things like that. So it just
Remember that.
it's
Where is Alan Grant now? Oh, he's dead.
he's dead.
He's
He
definitely
probably
dead.
died. I don't know. So it's
They may play up to that though. He might be a clone in this.
oh
movie.
yeah,
You
yeah.
never know.
Age
They
accelerated.
brought back Dr. Grant.
he made
But yeah,
her
no, so
again.
It's it's cool seeing. Yeah, it's just really cool seeing him excited. It's cool seeing him, tag Laura Dern, Jeff Goldblum, and then Bryce and Chris Pratt, Colin. It's cool to see that these teams are going to be uniting, and we've been told countless times he's a lead character in this film.
Yeah.
He's not just a
Yeah, which I will. I'll believe it when I see it.
The hat is yet another main character in this film. When will the castings end?
And we know a little bit about the way Grant will look in this movie simply because we know that he has a beard now.
Yeah.
And we also know that Jeff.
He's gonna look like he did. Everybody always made those Jurassic Park 4 teaser trailers, fake trailers, official trailers.
Yeah.
There was always that one movie. I forgot
Oh,
what
it was the one
but
about
where
like
he was in
the
the jungle,
Tasmanian tiger,
rainforest.
right?
Yeah.
The
And
thylacine.
he had the beard and he had the hat, and it looked like Costa Rica.
The Hunter?
Like,
Was it the Hunter?
yeah, I think it was that. Yeah, something like that.
William Dafoe was in that?
Everybody. Yeah, it was Willem Dafoe, wasn't it? The Hunter or the Hunted? I gotta check this out. No, The Hunter, yeah. The Australian movie.
Good movie. But yeah, everyone used it. He's going to look like
People
that.
grabbed clips from that, yeah. And I think that's a little bit like what we're going to see
Yeah,
in this movie. Because I'm pretty sure he had a beard in that, right?
he
And
did.
had a hat.
He did.
He had a beard and a hat.
Yeah, no, he's going to probably look like that. And what's interesting is a lot of people complained that Malcolm had a beard in the last movie. And we've seen Jeff is on site. We've seen pictures of him. He does not have a beard now.
Really?
Ah, so they've they've swapped out who's got the facial hair.
Yeah, so, but a beard is perfect for Grant anyhow, because as a little throwback, that's how Grant was described in the book. Bearded
Yes.
and barrel-chested, I think.
And plus, we've had 2 movies where he doesn't have a beard. I think it's time.
Yeah, no, I think it
think
makes
it's time.
sense, and I don't think
We have a beard.
it really conflicts too much with Grant's character. A beard is pretty fitting for him. I think Malcolm, a lot of times that clean cut, he was all about presentation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that seeing that on Grant is it makes a ton of sense.
I think it's just really cool. I'll say it again. Seeing this tweet, I woke up. When was it posted? The original tweet. 11 a.m. Yeah, so I was already awake. Barely. But yeah, just seeing that tweet, seeing Sam Neill had just tweeted that, I was like, oh my god, that's Grant. It's Dr. Grant's hat.
Yeah.
Like, that's something about it. It hit me, man. I was really pumped for the first time for this movie. I got excited. I mean, I guess first time to be excited for like these characters returning, because more than anything, I'm worried. I'm worried about how they're going to be handled. I'm worried about how much screen time they're going to have. I wonder what their individual character arcs or their sort of group character arc is going to be. I really hope it's executed well, but this just got me pumped. This just got me hyped.
I cannot wait till we see one of the either Grant or Sattler in costume. I'm so hoping that Colin might post a tease.
You know, like what was that movie that came out just before Fallen Kingdom and it was crap? Oh, it was the new Predator. But do you remember it had Jacob Tremblay in, right? And they posted a character shot of them all in costume.
Oh
together.
Yeah, that was a really nice little shot. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, we were kind of hoping something like that for Fallen Kingdom, but that would be so cool if you posted the original three together. Even if it was like a set picture where they're in costume, but it's candid, like it's off set. But it's the OG three.
Do you think that Owen will be wearing another vest? Owen. Yeah, do you think he'll be wearing another vest? That's sort of like Owen's version of the Grant hat. Do you think that he'll be wearing a vest in Jurassic World 3?
I guess. It's just not really iconic.
No,
I don't
that's
know why
what I'm
he
wondering.
would, like, I mean, if they're out in the wilderness, maybe, but like in other scenes, maybe not. So.
He just wears vests all the time.
Tactical. He's tactical.
Yeah, I don't know. So I'm curious.
So Caleb, this hat though, this new Dominion hat, is this good in the rain or not? Is this more of a plain hat too?
It looks. I mean, I'm obviously not in the room with the hat, but it looks like the material that is similar to the JP3 hat that doesn't do as well in moisture. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
At that point, do you think it's just because they wanted to pay homage to the Jurassic Park 3 hat, though?
I think it's 100% JP3, right?
Yeah.
This has got to be... And I think it's probably stemmed from... You know, Colin's always listened, but listening to how Assis's love for Jurassic Park 3...
It's for Assis.
It's for Assis, yeah.
Yes.
It's just... He started this whole thing, and you know... Jurassic Park 3 is just it's the best one of the whole trilogy, so I think.
Yeah.
But seriously, yeah, no, it's it's exciting, and I think they're going to Malta, right?
Yes, they're filming in Malta.
The original trio.
They're filming in like
as well. So I was
4 different locations, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, and I'm praying there's a little bit of Hawaii in there too. I don't know how or why that would work in the script, but I'd love to see the 3 of them on an island somewhere.
Same.
But Malta, right? That's an interesting one. Do you think it's actually going to be Malta?
No, probably not.
You know, yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. It's going to be somewhere else, but yeah.
Like you know, something gone wrong, or like because what we saw in Malta almost looks like otherworldly a little bit, right? The specific island that they were going to, or was that for the intro sequence? No, I'm thinking of something completely different.
Oh, are you thinking about Sakatora?
Yeah,
That's
or how that was like another worldly little piece of land.
Yeah, I forget the names of the types of trees that are there, but yeah, no, they filmed quite a bit of their second unit, and that's pretty cool. I guess it was like in Egypt and whatnot. So yeah, no, that looks like it would be an exciting place, and so does Malta. Hold on, I just want to see where because the film commissioner said where they'll be filming.
Hey, if it's otherworldly location, they're setting up Jurassic Universe. It's obvious. Come on.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with these locations, and I definitely do not know how to pronounce all of them. But I'm gonna give it a shot. It's filming in Valletta. Wait, what is that? Riosa? Vitoriosa?
Yeah.
Malaya?
By Google
and Pembroke?
searches, these are all very similar looking little towns, little seaside. Pembroke. We have a Pembroke here.
Vittoriosa, yeah.
I should know. I'm Italian. I really should know how to pronounce things, but I do not.
This looks like they're all like kind of towns, like little cities, beaches. all very cool architecture. This will be really interesting. I don't know how this will work. Like, what context of
What
the story,
the
is there like...
story function is, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That'll be fascinating.
That is sort of the thing that Collins teased about, though, is wanting to leave the islands and finally, uh, just I lost my track of thought.
Maybe,
Um,
maybe there is some sort of virus that is affecting either humanity or the dinosaurs, and they have to globetrot to places like Malta to try and find a cure.
to distribute face masks.
Or Ground Zero. Yeah, yeah, they're just propaganda. It'll be... Yeah, that's a really interesting thought. They could be chasing it, or it could be chasing them, whatever it is. Like, this could be a separate thing from the dinosaurs
True.
themselves, which are
I mean,
arguably a little threat.
I'm hesitant to read into filming locations too much, even though like we know that at the end of Fallen Kingdom, the movie franchise has gone global. Collins talked about wanting to go global, go to different locations. But that said, we do know that shooting locations across the world have all taken place fictionally in one location.
True.
So
I
I'm
do just
hesitant.
kind of hope it doesn't turn out like the last Bourne movie, where every scene was like, now we're in Paris, now we're in London, now we're in San Francisco, now we're in Vegas, like now we're in New York.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was all over the place, and I hope for Jurassic, I hope it still is able to have that isolation feeling, whatever's happening with the group of people. Because I think that's a key theme in Jurassic, is the feeling of isolation, being trapped, being in a place where it's you and them.
Oh yeah.
And that's it.
This is
Yeah,
a
it's
weird
easy
thought,
to,
but like maybe one of these other locations is standing in for somewhere on one of the islands we're familiar with.
Oh yeah, there's 1,000 countless opportunities. They might have saw a cool rock formation and said, "Sure, this looks like it would fit. It would look really nice on camera. We don't need to build something. Let's we'll use a CG plate photography to make the background look like it's a different place."
Right. It's like that road or that highway in Utah or Arizona that's at the end of Fallen Kingdom. It's like that was a filming location on the list, but like it was there for like 5 seconds. So
Exactly. Or like in Jurassic Park, when they're going to the Amber Mine, or the dig location, stuff like that. Like if you heard about those locations, you'd be like, "Oh wow, are there dinosaurs running loose in those locations?" And meanwhile,
They filmed those in Hawaii.
maybe this
but,
Malta
if
location,
it wasn't actually Dominican Republic.
maybe this Malta location is some sort of mine.
Oh, it could be. Yeah, it could be, because it does look a little bit more like.
It looks like I mean, you said the mine location from Jurassic Park, and I instantly saw the similarities between.
Wait, what
that and
location
Malta.
looks like that?
I mean,
Some of Malta.
yeah, some of Malta.
Oh, I wasn't sure if it was
Yeah,
one
sort
of
of
the
like-
specific locations that the commissioner talked about.
Oh, I don't know.
They all look. I googled each three of them. They all look the same.
Okay, there were 4.
Yeah, I couldn't get Pembroke because that just comes up with a local beach that we have here called Pembroke.
Fair.
Yeah, so
Fair enough.
Pictures of that. Like, Caleb, you said that you enjoy Jurassic World and Fallen Kingdom, right? They're good movies to you.
Yes, I really do like them very much. So
Good. And so for Dominion, are you super pumped? Are you nervous? Are you just gonna take it as it comes, or what's your view?
I'm obviously very excited. I think that I would be before each of these films, just because the franchise is so special to me, I'm a little bit nervous, because it's like this is an official canon entry in this story in this franchise, and am I gonna like it, and 2, is it gonna be good and up to the level of other things, etc., etc. But like, I think I'm maybe a little bit more nervous about this one than other things, because of the state of the world and the virus and everything going on, and for a long time there, it was like, is Dominion gonna make its release date? Are they gonna move it? Are they gonna do this? Are they gonna do that? And then they've picked filming back up and all that, and so I am cautiously very excited about it. I don't want them to rush. So
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah. It's a bit of a weird period, isn't it? this whole like it's the first major movie to go back to work,
Yeah.
and the UK is having talks about extended lockdowns now or a second wave.
True.
And it's kind of like they've put a lot on the line to make this happen, and I'm sure it's nice and safe. I'm sure like Universal have spent a lot of money. It's all going well, and from some of the few like set picture leaks we've seen, you know, not of showing anything, but like of locations and stuff, it all seems to be like pretty doable because they seem like they've got some wide, big locations to work with.
Yeah.
So social distancing and things like that are able to stay. I hope it doesn't impact the film more than they think it's going to.
Right. Well,
So-
I feel like, you know, you were saying Universal spent a lot of money to make sure this is safe, and I have no doubt about that. And I also, you know, something that quells my fears about it all is the fact that, you know, multiple A-list actors are there and are willingly participating and are saying that they feel good about it. Like, and if
Yes.
that was not the case, like, I really don't think that they would be acting the way that they are. And so Sam Neill being so, you know, excited the way that he is, and everyone else posting about it, and them being there with their families too, like it makes me feel a little bit better about it, because I mean, if they didn't feel safe, they wouldn't be there. So
Yeah, it does make me wonder if there's a cast member that we don't know of that may have dropped out or something like that. You know,
yeah, that'll
I mean,
be
somebody that's on the list.
that'll be interesting. This is maybe a tangent, but there is a character I hope returns who has not been announced or cast yet. So I won't say it unless we want to talk about it. But yeah.
Well, you can go ahead and say that, but I won't lie. The reason why I wasn't chiming in on that conversation, and there's some really good points, but have you guys seen what Laura Dern posted on Instagram?
Yes.
I
So we should
I
talk about
I
that
spent
right
this
now,
time
right?
reposting it from the Outpost Instagram right now, and I'm gonna post it on.
Oh, thanks. I was just grabbing my phone, man.
Yeah,
As we were having that
that's why I've been
discussion, I was, like,
quiet.
looking at the picture, like, ah.
So
I
Let's
have
do-
not seen this. So
So check the Skype chat.
oh my. Oh, my heart.
Yeah. How cool is
Wow. Oh my gosh, I want to cry.
that? That's
It
so
is
good.
amazing. Wow.
Next to each other like that.
So for people that are listening to this and describe what you're looking at.
Yes.
So I yeah, without me describing it, that was probably a little weird. So Laura Dern posted a photo with chairs on the set of Jurassic World Dominion, and on the chair on the left, these chairs are right next to each other. The chair on the left says Dr. Ellie Sattler, and the chair on the right says Dr. Alan Grant. The pair of them there in what looks like a sort of could be
I
a
was gonna say it looks like Malta, but they're not there. This is at Pinewood, but that looks like the style of terrain that you get at Malta.
It looks sort of like rolling hills.
It's dry, right?
Dry,
Like-
yeah,
yeah.
something, yeah. But that's just
Pretty interesting.
you know, this could bring up another discussion about Grant and Sattler and, you know, what their relationship is like. But like seeing the chairs right next to each other, that's just amazing. So
That's again. Oh, they're all sharing pictures, man. Jeff Goldblum has Instagram. We need to stay locked on that.
Yeah, see if he shares anything.
his wife's Instagram is a good one to follow too. She posts some things every once in a while.
Yeah. Is she with him in London?
Yes.
Oh, great.
Yeah, she's there. She
It's gonna take one slip up, like in the background. Of
Oh yeah, there's
Instagram
already
story or
been something.
that's
There's
like-
already been something deleted. It was that logo again.
Yeah,
That,
it was
Oh yeah.
the logo on the ground. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, that's where I've also seen pictures of Jeff, like in her story, where he's definitely not. He no longer has a beard. So
Yeah, for sure. No, that's a really cool picture.
Hey, you got to shave your
but,
beard if you're getting into action with dinosaurs. You know, you can have a beard for a courtroom, but
yeah,
dinosaur
but
action,
after
you can't have
that,
a beard.
it's all about maximum running velocity, and beards might
Exactly,
interfere
that's
with
exactly what it is.
that. But yeah, so yeah, no, this image is really exciting. It looks looks like the type of location that we were introduced to the characters in Jurassic Park, and see Grant at the dig site in Jurassic Park 3.
Those
Oh, true.
those
Yeah, it does seem all
rocks
of
This
in
is-
the hill there in the background are
in the
interesting.
Badlands.
That
That's true, Chris. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
It could be.
It almost looks like the type of terrain you'd get in Malta if they were filming outside of the cities, which might explain might be an extension of whatever this set is. And this just feels very Dr. Grant. I mean, I don't know if this is what the scene is, but I can imagine him digging up like a dinosaur right next to it. Just like old times.
True.
And interesting that they're both there. Now, what's going to be really funny is this is probably something completely different than what we're guessing. But it's like, meanwhile, it's like a diorama like at Lockwood's place, and they threw the chairs in there.
it's gonna
They're
complete
digging up a
throw-
dinosaur in the diorama.
Complete throw off.
Yeah, we've got a Dilophosaurus again. No, it's just a diorama.
But no, that's just that's crazy to see.
Yeah, wow, what a cool little reveal. It's funny, man. People that aren't Jurassic fans are going to be listening. Well, they're not going to be listening, but they're going to. If they did listen, they'll see us going crazy over a picture of a hat and a picture of two chairs.
Well, it's just these characters haven't been in these films in so long, so it's not just that. It's
No,
making it real. It's the fact that it's actually happening, that their names are actually there, printed on chairs, on the set.
It's cool that they got those chairs.
They were filming.
They got the names printed.
They were filming earlier today. You know what I mean? Like, they've probably wrapped because it's about 9 p.m. there.
Yeah.
And they're posting, so they've probably wrapped. But yeah, no, they were filming earlier today. That's just
Man.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
So now we just need Colin.
Exciting.
We need Colin to post something. Well, we need
Yeah.
we need Jeff as well, but we really need Colin to post something.
Yeah, I kind of want something official though. So I guess we gotta wait for that Entertainment Weekly.
Yeah.
Did they do that for Fallen Kingdom?
Yes.
It was them that did. They did the first like on-set pictures, right, from Jurassic World when they were filming in Hawaii.
Oh, well,
Chris
did they
Pratt
do
did
Fallen
the
Kingdom
Entertainment
too?
Weekly with like the Indoraptor animatronic and all that.
That's right. Yeah. So we need another one of them.
Well, what we really need also though is we at this point from J.A. Bayona, we had already had that image of the Lockwood set, that really nice press photo.
Oh, yeah.
Because I just went back and looked at it when that was done, and I think it was March of 2017.
Maisie there.
Yeah, Maisie standing in front of.
What was the name we had for her then?
It was
wasn't
Lucy.
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 Maybe the casting name or something. Like
And
that.
it's funny because I had that wild speculation because I don't know why. I mean, it was just completely baseless speculation. And I was like, what if Lucy is going to be like cloned from the first human or whatnot? Like not the first human, but what they.
You're talking about
what
the
son-
Neanderthal,
Lucy,
right? Yeah.
Yeah, Lucy. Yeah, that very significant find. I was wondering if that was paying homage in a series like that. A name Lucy showing up immediately made me think, is she tied to Dr. Wu? I thought that she was going to be Dr. Wu's daughter, but in a weird way, I'm assuming she sort of is, being a clone.
Ooh.
Oh.
Like not birth.
I know
not
what
by
you mean.
DNA
Yeah,
or
yeah,
anything
yeah.
like that. But like, I'm assuming Dr. Wu is the one that cloned her. So I don't know. It was still probably, I was completely way off. It was a complete coincidence, but I still felt like when it turned out she was a clone, I was like, oh, I was sort of on it. I was on something there.
Well, when you said, "Look at what Laura Dern posted," I thought it was something related to the character I want to be cast, but this is even better. So
I'm assuming you're saying that you want Sarah back.
I am saying I want Sarah Harding back.
Oh, who doesn't want Sarah Harding back, man?
True.
That would be so.
People notice that
I think I'd rather.
there's all
wouldn't you
these
rather take a
castings.
Sarah Harding spin-off.
Yeah, well,
Like post 97.
yes,
After what happened in Lost
totally.
World.
There's all these castings and things like people. It's like, how are they going to fit all these people in? Like, how do they tie in? But like, I really honestly feel like they could find a great reason for Sarah to be involved with things. Like, yeah.
I agree with
Even
that.
in the
From
background or
animal
something.
Behaviorology stuff.
Well,
like, it makes sense.
Are
but
her and
I wouldn't want it to.
Are
feel-
her and Malcolm still involved?
There's certainly opportunity for that. And what's interesting is, her actress, she did comment on Laura Dern's post.
A couple of
Julianne
them,
Moore.
but it's not the first time.
Yeah.
That's not the first time. It's happened before.
But when she posted the
But
picture
that
of the
doesn't-
action
that doesn't
figure, she
mean
did say so
anything,
good.
yeah.
But yeah, I would love if they somehow, even if like it's like basically she came in for some new photographs. So even if we just see pictures of her still existing in her life, in
Yeah,
Yeah, man, that
that
would
would
be
be
a cool
very
way to
cool.
end this movie as well. Bring back a lot of the characters just as
Bring
they are
back
for like
Kelly
a
Malcolm. Come on.
yeah, exactly.
Kelly Malcolm. We all thought there was, yeah, we were hoping she was going to be in Fallen
I
Kingdom.
always
Like that would have been cool to have a throwback, even if her scene was actually a cameo and Jeff Goldblum had a bit more of a role. That would have been
yeah, just even if
really
she was
cool.
just sitting there in the audience, like the camera never favored her or anything like that. Just something like, hey, if you're paying attention, that's actually sort of
Yeah, that's Kelly.
yeah,
Kelly,
and
Kelly,
it makes
Kelly,
sense that
Kelly,
she'd
Kelly.
be there supporting,
Kelly, hey.
supporting her father and whatnot.
Kelly, hey, don't go out there. It's
do you know what?
dangerous.
That's true. Kelly, Kelly and Sarah. Yeah, those are
How
two
many
characters.
how many
that truly-
Kellys do you think are in this podcast?
Yeah. Kelly and do you know what? Actually, Vince Vaughn's character, Nick Van Owen.
yeah.
What did he do after Lost?
I don't
World?
know. See,
Because
I
He
love
won
him.
the
they
Pulitzer,
lost all
is
their
what he
film.
did.
They lost all their. Yeah, maybe.
He probably did.
But they did, right? They did. lose all
That
their
would be
film,
so
unless he-
cool if we could see his photo. If they put some budget into it and like did like released his photos that he took.
Oh man.
Yeah, you know,
Had
I
IOM,
remember
like,
this.
render
watched-
some
I watched
dinos
Lost World the other day,
work-
and was literally thinking of that. Like, he shot a lot of rolls of film, so he would have escaped with a couple of rolls somewhere if they were in his clothing. They probably would have been ruined, but you would have been able to get
Something.
you would have been able to get something if he managed to get some of the film rolls off.
Yeah, if he even got one roll
island.
off the island, that would just be.
Because you got to think, like, 35mm film rolls are small. I'm talking
Yeah.
for for stills. He had one of those. He had like 1 million pockets on all of his
Yeah.
clothes and a backpack up until the very end.
Yeah.
Right? He probably, as they developed, shoved them in the pockets, like had them all maybe in the trailers. Maybe. That's
Tell me
what
how
it went,
cool
but-
that would be to do a little project. They could probably shoot. They could shoot it all in the Lost World. Just have plan out the shots like of what they're supposed to be. Go get that same camera on that same type of film so it looks authentic. Work with a photographer that knows how to frame good shots, but then they know what's supposed to be in it. Then work with IOM in the past and like release 6 or 7 photos that Nick Van Owen.
and that's where you take Sarah Harding, because he took pictures of Sarah. Sarah took pictures of him, right?
Oh yes.
That would be a cool way to bring them back.
Yes.
Technically, have them in it as well. Like have a picture of Sarah Harding up on that log.
But yeah, no, I don't know. That would be.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a
Pictures
fun little
from the
project.
Stegosaurus
I'm like
scene,
thinking about this right now. I'm like, that would be such a cool little in-world way that you could theoretically do for a pretty low budget. I mean,
Sounds like a project for Chaos Theorem.
oh, if only.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that would be fun. That would be a hell of a lot of fun. And also, that's somewhere I want to go. Like, see the locations where they filmed The Lost World, where like Dieter's death was.
Mm-hmm.
There was somebody that did that. Somebody went to all the locations in California.
And they
and took pictures and
brought
put
compies,
a
had
album
compies
together.
attack them.
Yeah,
Live compies, to be clear.
that scene is so good, man. Dieter's death
Oh,
is so good.
I love it. I still love the idea, the concept that the compies are still venomous, and that's what slowly degrades, brings them down. Is the injuries are
yeah.
superficial, but it's the venom that's slowing him down and making him sluggish and attacking him until he eventually
Definitely.
becomes
'Cause
immobilized.
He just becomes like devoid of energy. He just starts sort of like stumbling off, and then he can't even climb over the log. He just like crawls over it, and then that's
So
that's his demise.
Yeah.
before the Wheatley death in Fallen Kingdom, like Dieter's death in the Lost World was like the one I went to is like an example of brutality in the Jurassic Park franchise. It's like
I would say
just
Eddie.
dinosaurs just being savages.
and Eddie too, yes, but like just like a slow burn, just torturous death, like man. But anyway,
And you got to talk about the score there as well.
Yeah.
Oh
I
my
mean, the music
gosh.
that plays over that, mixed in with the way that's filmed and the shots, and then you get the VFX mixed with the animatronics. Like he's got physical compies on him, and he's
yes.
ripping off that, like grabbing his lip and things like that,
Oh,
and they're like pecking at him like birds.
The
man.
CG for the compies works out astoundingly well. And
Even in 4K.
what's
Yes.
funny is I think they have less detail on them than like the compy maquettes, like what Winston's coded. but it doesn't look like it's like a softer 3D model. What it looks like is it just looks like the compies have more amphibian like skin. And then because anytime we see the animatronics, like they're sort of shiny and whatnot, and you don't necessarily see the detail up close, it makes it look very convincing. Essentially, the compies look like real physical things in a lot of these CG shots. It's actually
Oh yeah.
I think
it's
It's,
bizarre how
lighting
good they
in
look.
those areas helps
It's
as well,
it's
'cause they're in
Spielberg's
shadow for a lot of that scene.
It's Spielberg's mastery of lighting in that entire movie. Like
Yeah.
makes things look so real. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I feel like though even like the raptors at the end of the Lost World look really good in CG. As they're running through the workers' village, it's sort
that
of
whole sequence is really
it's
well put together.
astounding,
The only
actually.
bit where
When
it
the,
stands out
uh,
like bad CG is when the raptors fight. When Sarah drops off the roof.
it's
Oh,
not
yeah.
the worst.
When Sarah and Kelly
Yeah,
are
of the raptors in that sequence, I think it's like when they roll, it's kind of like oh.
Okay, you know what's
Oh,
funny
I
is
gotcha. Yeah,
Aside from that,
I
the darkness masks it really well.
I think most of the hero shots of the CG in the Lost World look better for the raptors look better than the hero shots of the animatronics. I thought that the male raptors they look pretty convincing as CG, but in the animatronic it's like lacking finer detail that the Jurassic Park ones have, and because of that it looks more of like a animatronic rubber dinosaur that's been painted rather than like a real like this the complexity of the painting didn't look like the complexity of a real animal on the animatronic.
You mean like how like the scene where Kelly does the
Yeah,
gymnastics and the
I've
raptor,
never
like,
liked the
spins
tiger
and looks.
strike raptors because of all the hero shots of the animatronics all kind of looked fake, especially compared to Jurassic Park. They're not reflecting light the same way. There's not like the molted complexities within the color that you can notice ever so subtly.
You gotta be careful here, Chris. You gotta be careful.
I don't like the tiger raptors. I don't like the male raptors, but mainly it's because
This is the Lost World we're talking
mainly
about.
it's because I felt like this is the one time I can say I felt the Winston work wasn't up to it, and just in terms of the paint, it just didn't look right with that style of the paint the coloration that they chose for the animal mixed with then the way they painted the animatronic didn't look convincing to me.
What I was gonna say a minute ago, the scene where Kelly and Sarah are digging under the wall to try and get out, and the raptor pounces in on them. That still makes me jump to this day, and I've seen it 1,000 times.
Yeah.
But anyway,
It's just unexpected, I think. Yeah, that whole sequence is so good. The way it builds that tension. They're in the workers' village, and then they're trying to get into that room. And then when they get in that room, they got to go up. And then when Ian Malcolm finally makes it in the room, they're like, "Get out of
Yeah,
here!
it just
Go!" It's great.
no, yeah.
It's,
of course, it's then followed by a bizarre choice.
the
yes,
gymnastics scene. I get it. It just doesn't play very well, but it never bothered me. I mean, we've talked about that a lot before.
Oh.
It just wasn't something that ever got me.
Well, that's
I didn't
because you're
think
young when
much
you
of it.
saw it. If you would have seen that today in a Jurassic World film and not in the Lost World, you would.
Yes.
Like, let's be clear. It's
But it's got nothing.
Let's be clear.
On a kiss in the middle of Main Street when people are dying around.
I think
you.
it's just as bad.
It
I think
certainly
both are
isn't as
bad, but
bad
I think
as
it's
that.
just as bad.
I understand that though. Yeah, the nostalgia.
Yeah.
If nostalgia wasn't playing a part. If I saw that movie now for the first time,
the
that
school
scene
cut
would
you
be
from
like,
the team. Come on.
Yeah.
I think that scene
they
could have
cut
been
that bit out and then
handled.
put in.
I think
if
that's
they showed
why.
less and they built around the gymnastic kick a little less, like if it just sort of happened, I think it would go a little better. But even so, I don't think that was necessarily the choice. But I understand it, paying
Right.
off that gymnastics thread and giving Kelly a heroic moment. But
And I think that's why it
Yeah,
works
for
for
sure.
me, and I really like it, is because the Malcolm one-liner. Like, that's just why I enjoy it. But yeah.
Yeah. It really doesn't bother me, but yeah, nothing does in the Lost World. In fact, I watched that the other night, quite late. I put it on, and
Was it raining?
I finished it. It wasn't. No, it may have been raining. I don't know, man. But after it, when it finished, I was like, I could just literally watch that again. I could just press play again.
Mm-hmm.
I was so in tune with that movie, and getting to see it. Yeah, I love it. I love it so much.
yeah, Lost
So-
World is. Go on.
Go ahead, Chris. No, I was gonna say moving on, sort of, but I am watching Jurassic Park 3 with a friend this evening who has never seen it. So
Whoa.
Ooh.
Okay.
I had someone who we went through the entire all 5 Jurassic films. They'd never seen any
well,
of
that
them, and that
I'm
was
in
really
that
fun.
process with this friend. So yeah, Jurassic Park 3 is up.
That'll be interesting. Have they seen the first 2, and have they seen them recently?
We watched the first 2 a couple of weeks ago and have been busy, haven't been able to continue yet, so we're continuing today. So
Jurassic Park 3 is going to
With
be funny because it's quite the tonal shift
I
from the first 2.
definitely, and
Yeah.
she's she's someone who appreciates film and things like that, so I'm interested to hear her opinions on it. So
Yeah. Imagine if she just loved it. She was like, "Whoa, that was better than the first
I had
2."
that thought today.
That
I
was
was like,
so good.
what if, like, as someone who is not like a super fan of the franchise, she watches this movie and was like, that was fun, that was cool. So
That's the best one. That'll be great. Has she seen the newer ones? Jurassic World
she's
and-
actually she's actually seen Jurassic World and Fallen Kingdom. She just hadn't seen the first 3. So
Interesting. Wow, that must be really interesting. Like coming back and then seeing.
it was
original
super
movies.
interesting because like my first question was like, why did someone not make you watch the other movies before you saw the newer ones?
Yeah.
Like if I would have known you, I would have made you watch the other ones before we went and saw the newer ones. But
You have to watch it. You're not allowed to see
Sit
the new
down,
one.
we're watching this.
You must watch Jurassic Park.
yeah,
Yeah, no, it's always wild. I mean, you sometimes we're so close to Jurassic that it's so easy to forget that can be a common thing for the newer films. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
interesting to see how also people react to it after their first
Oh, yeah.
introduction is Jurassic World.
her opinions were interesting. Like she loved Jurassic Park, thought it was great. Didn't think The Lost World was as good as Jurassic Park, which I thought was interesting. And so we'll see how she feels about Jurassic Park 3. But
About Jurassic Park 3.
before we watched The Lost World, I told her, I was like, I love this movie. This movie is really special to me. I think it's fantastic. And like I just prefaced it with that, and that's all I said. So anyway.
So she went easy on you. She was like, "Yeah, it was." Good.
Yeah, she didn't hurt my feelings. So
So I've got a question for you then. What are your this is jumping ship a little bit and changing subject, but with Camp Cretaceous coming up, what are some of your hopes with that? And we could probably tie that back to music if you'd like.
oh yeah, well, I mean, I am very excited for Camp Cretaceous, and I'm glad they finally released a trailer. Seems like it was never going to happen, but anyway,
Yeah, seriously.
I have high hopes for it. I enjoy the animation style. There are animation styles that I don't like, but I really enjoy this one. And as far as music goes, I have really high hopes for that as well because in the trailer for Camp Cretaceous, they took a really traditional Jurassic Park route. And that it was really
Yeah.
interesting to me that they chose that. Like, I mean, unless my memory is not correct, like I don't think there was a Jurassic World theme in that trailer at all.
Theme in the trailer? No, I don't think so. It'll be interesting to see if the show, favors Jurassic Park themes, favors world themes, favors new music.
Right, yeah.
Doesn't have world themes but has park themes. It'll be interesting to see.
The visual aspects of the show certainly seem to be going down more of the classic Jurassic feel.
True. As a composer, I hope that they like bring things back like the Indominus theme and things like that. But like, I'm not. I mean, I would love it if they mixed the two, used some Jurassic Park, really Jurassic Park feeling music, and also some Jurassic World stuff. So, I was having trouble finding who the composer is for the show. I couldn't find it on IMDb or anything, so I'm not sure who it is. But
Yeah, IMDb doesn't currently have the cast on there or anything. I
right,
believe.
yeah.
Yeah,
Which is
even though they're
weird
announced.
for IMDb, because usually someone's in there
Right.
straight away. Like Joseph Maslow was on the Jurassic World 3
I had s-
thing. Do you remember it? It was spelt wrong. Or it was
Oh, yeah.
not a good one.
I had seen. I know that the composer is out there somewhere. I had seen something a few months ago with it, so I could probably. I'll have to dig back and see where I have that.
Okay.
And see if I can find it.
Yeah, I swear it was on some press release somewhere for it, but
Yeah, hold on. Let me see if.
there's been like such a lack of anything on Camp Cretaceous up until this this teaser trailer.
Yeah.
There was a point where I was wondering if it was going to be pulled. And we just weren't
like,
going to get it.
Like, never hear anything about it, and they're like, yeah, just pretend like that never happened.
Yeah, they were going to act like it didn't exist. And everyone would be like, wow, yeah.
Kind of like Battle at Big Rock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same
Battle
thing.
what?
Like the toy line. It's the same thing. I'm more excited for Dominion than I was before the Camp Cretaceous trailer. I don't know why. I think it's just there's something about that trailer that showed that there's still that heart, and it still can capture some of that original feel that I feel like the newer movies might be missing.
What I'm wondering is, something that The Mandalorian did was and it was like a spin-off TV show before a Star Wars movie came out. They introduced a concept of force healing in The Mandalorian with Baby Yoda. Mm-hmm. And then used it in The Rise of Skywalker because as it had been introduced in The Mandalorian. And so a thought I had was I wonder if there's going to be any lore or storylines or concepts that are introduced in Camp Cretaceous that are then talked about in Jurassic World Dominion. That would be cool.
Hope there's that tie, and it would show that they've been planning things for a long time. But sometimes I feel maybe Chris has said before with the live tour, that was supposed to be canon. Now it's kind of soft canon. Maybe they're not sure because it's kind of
right.
The communication
Collins
has never been fantastic on Universal's end.
Colin's definitely more involved in this one. In fact, I think he said that he joined the writers' room for 5 days or something on this one, and was more involved than he had to be. There was an interview with him with that Polish website.
Yes.
Where he said he partook in the writer's room because he always wanted to do that, and he.
And Colin was an industry writer before he made Safety Not Guaranteed. He wrote spec scripts, TV shows, the ones where you're kind of uncredited. I didn't know that until I listened to that podcast with Colin. But he was working in the industry for years, a long time before Safety Not Guaranteed happened, as a writer. So he had all that experience from collaborative.
Yeah, he knew how to navigate.
The writer's room. So he could just slip into Camp Cretaceous and keep them on track in a franchise way, make things fine, certain things in the park.
Yeah.
It's it would have been like that. Because, Jurassic World's his, so it makes sense. And I'm really pleased that has happened, because consistency is something we need, especially with the other side of the island. It's where is this? Where is Camp Cretaceous on the island?
Well, where is the lagoon on the island?
Well, that map at the end shows that it. I mean, it's a really
you can't really see
Camp Cretaceous. You can see it. It kind of shows it's in the middle again. It's the Jurassic World
it's the exact
map over Fallen Kingdom.
Yeah, so Camp Cretaceous will have it back in the middle. I was sort of poking fun of the fact that the films don't even. That's, I guess, why I'm worried about the continuity of a cartoon that Colin's only partly involved with, is things like John Parker Hammond or John Alfred Hammond, in the lagoon location, stuff like that. I'm the continuity with Jurassic is a curious one.
Yes.
Hey, Isla Nublar gets a lot of rain.
It just
bodies of water move.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily mind the opening shot of the lagoon where it's slightly different, larger and whatnot, because we never can see that there's no when we see the wide shots, it's so dark and stormy you can't see if there's a lagoon or not, or if it's on the side of the ocean. But it's when it's on the map, when you see it on the map, that's where the plausible deniability of it all falls apart. It just completely falls apart there. That's frustrating. I wish that they would have at least for the Blu-ray, I wish they would have got a new map.
Was Fallen Kingdom even about a mosasaur that escaped? No.
It
had one goddamn shot at the end. It was so unnecessary. As much as I dig that opening sequence, like we've said before, I think it's my favorite opening sequence in the franchise, Fallen Kingdom. But it just, I don't know, it didn't need to happen. The mosasaur didn't even need to break out because it didn't do anything anyway. It just was there at the end and killed a surfer from.
I think it's more interesting.
Court over, right? Because that was copyrighted footage that they didn't pay for.
No, they paid for it. I don't think that they're allowed
to.
I think it was something it turns out the original person didn't think it was allowed to be edited or something like that. He was upset that he was edited to fall off of his surfboard because that never happened. That was his big thing. I think
Got it.
so. I don't know.
It
I'm
went to court,
sure
though, I swear. That was funny.
I, it allegedly was going to court. I'm not sure if I ever followed it up and saw if it went to court or if he even had grounds or if Universal's lawyers probably it was probably up there for like complete use of like edit how you want whatnot. So
Yeah,
I
probably.
imagine they were probably in the clear.
Just funny, like getting a shot.
But it
From
was kind of funny
Shutterstock
seeing
or
that.
something.
I know.
Jurassic World
Or
Dominion's production budget. They're like, well, we need a good few mil for Shutterstock.
isn't the shot of the brachiosaurs in Fallen Kingdom also that's
Yes.
on the TV?
The
Isn't that a
BBC
shot from
News
Jurassic World?
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that a shot
It's
from
the
Jurassic
zoom in
World
where they
with
shoot
just
the Indominus, I think, from the helicopter.
yeah? It just
Oh yeah.
it's like little weird things like that. I don't know. I'm assuming that means those shots kind of maybe happened later in the process when they were trying to figure out what they wanted on the TVs and everything like that.
It just stayed in.
But I do wish that they would have paid. This does happen in big, continuity story based movies like this. I wish they would have paid to get IOM to fix the map, even if it wasn't in time for the theatrical release. They could have had it fixed for the Blu-ray. I mean, that's not unheard of. I think Goblet of Fire, Harry Potter, it had to do that with some of the gravestones. And in the theatrical release, like they had some of Voldemort's family history wrong, but in the Blu-ray release, they CG'd over it and fixed everything.
Oh, so they could have,
it
because
was
you're
all-
right about the plausible deniability, except for that end shot where it actually just swims into the
Yeah,
ocean. But
that's the only thing that needed change, and we could debate for days on why the lagoon now has an exit that eventually goes to the ocean. And I think the easiest thing is saying, "Hey, it was flooded, it hit the river, and that's that." And I think that's believable. We never saw enough to say that it couldn't have happened. We've only seen cartoony maps, so that doesn't really give us a
yeah, for sure,
good
for sure.
good read. I think it's plausible. It just fix the freaking map.
Yeah.
Like just do that, please. I mean, if it happens now, if they do a re-release down the line, they fix the map, I'd be happy because then they're trying to tie it together with a very easy thing.
Well, I just want to know exactly.
And fix John Alfred Hammond to be John Parker Hammond,
that
especially
one's not hard.
especially because the photograph underneath it, the plaque says John Parker Hammond.
Yeah.
I don't know how
And it says,
how they got it right.
I bet you it says Parker in the script as well. I bet you it was like
It does.
Yeah.
Because people that have read it have said, hey, yeah, it says John Parker Hammond in the script. So I don't know what happened there, that they like recorded John Parker Hammond and then like
Dubbed it as
went in and
Alfred.
changed it to Alfred. Like, did somebody else like fact check that and like then think they had it wrong?
maybe
not
Universal
realizing that-
fact checked it. Like they fact
And
checked the release dates of their own movies. Jesus Christ. Hey, I called it the other day on Twitter. Did you see? If you type Jurassic World
Yes.
release date into Google, it actually comes up with the May 29th premiere?
Mm-hmm.
Universal,
Something like
man,
that,
next
yeah.
year, it's going to happen. Happy anniversary to Jurassic World. It's in May.
Yeah. No, they probably have that all archived, right? Because it's from this new era of the new team where they started archiving things. It's just everything that existed before that was never archived or cataloged in like a way that is like for franchise building like that you do today.
Yeah, but
So
if
now-
it's as simple as like, oh, just Google it.
Yeah, exactly. So that's how they populated most of the information, and that's why things like apparently you see baryonyx and Suchomimus in Jurassic Park 3, according to the Jurassic World website, among like a lot of other weird nuances with the dino facts. And it's just like, yeah, it was they probably went to the Jurassic Wiki, which kind of vaguely states that it was on the if you didn't see the movies, you wouldn't know whether or not it had a design that you saw or whatnot in the films. So because Suchomimus and baryonyx are mentioned by Grant and Billy, they're in the film. Of course, the Spinosaur didn't get a page until about a month ago on the website.
Wow.
And they're using a very, very, very bad looking render from Jurassic World, the game, like alive,
What, of
like
the
not
Spino?
like the not. There is a squirrel trying to get into my house. Sorry. What? Oh yeah, I'm talking about like the mobile game, not like Evolution. Where Evolution, if they would have at least used that 3D render, it would have looked decent. Anyhow, tangent aside.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's an excellent point to end on. Caleb, it's been really nice having you on the podcast, man, and it's been nice to catch up with you. Since the last time we spoke in person was at the wedding, which was an incredible time.
Yeah. Dude, yeah, it's been great, guys. This is what I live for, is chatting about Jurassic with people like you. So,
Let's do it
Yeah,
again.
let's do it again. And I'm glad the music turned out great and it works well. So
It does, man. It really, really does. And yeah, it may have taken us a while to get that together, but I'm glad that we I'm glad that we stuck it out because I'm really happy now. I always felt like we never had enough. I mean, obviously our podcast is more of just a discussion based. We just kind of chat, and we let the conversation roll. But yeah, I always felt like we were missing something after that opening theme, and this truly, it really fits in. It's brilliant. It elevates it.
Yeah, well, I'm always game for writing more Jurassic music. So.
Well, Caleb, thank you so much again for coming on, man. It's great to speak to you, and yeah, hopefully we'll do this again soon.
Thanks for having me. It was great.
All right, guys. Thank you for listening to the InGeneral podcast, and check out the Jurassic Outpost store, jurassicoutpost.com/store. It's now open. There's masks and t-shirts and everything you're gonna need. Everything. Absolutely everything. The only thing we don't have is we've sold out of Jurassic Park 3 on DVD, but we're getting that
Not everything.
back in. Not everything. Nearly everything. Go to zavi.com.co.uk wherever you are in the world. I'm pretty sure they ship worldwide. Outpost 20% discount on everything on there. Jurassic themed, and Outpost 10 for anything that isn't Jurassic themed. Pretty good deal. Zavi's pretty good. There's some cool stuff on there. But check that out. Guys, thank you.